Welcome to the Sahyadri webinar series. In this new web series, I'm going to take you on a beautiful visual journey through 200 forts in the Sahyadri, spread across 15 different traverses shown out here. Some of the traverses will be split up in two parts, as I want to keep every webinar to maximum 15-20 minutes. Okay, let's get started. We'll start with a beautiful journey running from Lonavla to Naneghat during the last week of October 2019, when it was still raining as the monsoon was a bit delayed last year. These webinar series are recorded on Zoom and then posted on my website, Ultra Journeys, YouTube, Insta TV, and Facebook. Voila, in this first traverse, we'll start at Lonavla, go through the Dhak Bahiri caves, Burhiri Fort, Bhimashankar, Kotlighat, Siddhaghat, Gorakart, Durga Fort, Dakoba, Jivdan, Naneghat, and Chawand. In this webinar, we'll just cover the first part from Lonavla to Siddhaghat. Here you can see on the map that we're actually running through beautiful trails on the Deccan ridge, basically the ridge where the Deccan plateau drops down steeply to the Konkan coast, the Konkan plains on the left side. Voila, so let's start from Lonavla here on the Pune-Mumbai highway. From there, we quickly get out of the town. And then after exiting the city, come in a beautiful trails and tracks, and keep running along the ridge, where on the right side there will be regular valleys with lakes, which we will be passing from, where you have also access. But otherwise, along this ridge, you're pretty much into kind of no man's land, as this region of the Sahyadris is not easy accessible. It's a steep vertical drop on the left side. And on the right side, mostly you don't have roads that reach up or development that reaches up to this ridge line. Okay, so in the first part, we'll start from Lonavla, jump on a local train from Pune to Lonavla, and then get out straight north through the beautiful Valvan Dam, follow a scenic jeep track here, cross another beautiful lake where there is a split left goes to Rajmachi, which I'll be covering in a future session. Initially, we'll be going straight towards Bhimashankar here, along the Deccan Ridge, to meet our first point of interest, the Dhak Bahiri caves. Voila, I started off my journey somewhere mid-October 2019 with a couple of friends from Pune who joined me for exactly 1 day. All right, so voila, as you start running from Lonavla, quickly you get these beautiful views on the mighty Sahyadri ranges. You can see the various layers. I think there are some 17 layers in total of volcanic eruptions through millions of years ago. And the far end, you can see the Konkan train, which goes up from the Konkan plains to the Lonavla site, basically climbing up this steep traverse. Here you can see those beautiful trails, especially when you go beyond Rajmachi splits. You go straight into the forest and follow excellent trails full of green and blooming flowers here at the end of the monsoon as you run further north along this ridge. I'll show you a couple of videos taken along the way. Views on the left side are really stunning. Steep drops to the Konkan plains below. The trail is pretty good. I believe it's used frequently by hikers doing this traverse. Steep drops there on the plains. You can see small villages down. The beauty about this place is that it's completely amazing place. Voila, so this place is really a place to be close to nature, as you're far away from any roads or development thanks to the inaccessibility. Voila, here you can see already further away there. You basically run through these intermittent valleys, which will appear on the right side with huge reservoirs, climb up again over some mountain to the next valley, Here on this steep rock, we'll find our first point of interest, the Dhak Bahiri caves. Voila, in all angles you see beautiful views here. On the left side, here somewhere should be Rajmachi Fort. Everywhere those Sahyadris are steeply dropping down into the plains below. Lots of green forest on the slopes, the valley slopes. Voila, here we come closer through, as we go through a forest, we come closer to this unique pinnacle from where you enter the Dhak Bahiri caves. Dhak Bahiri is basically a cave in the Sahyadri hill range situated near the village of Jampivli of the village of Malavali. The caves are as such are sacred as Lord Bahiri reside here and was used by pilgrims and sages. From the caves, we have a beautiful glance on the terrifying beauty of the peaks of the Sahyadri. We can see the twin forts of Rajmachi, Srivardhan and Manranjan. I'm just taking a couple of excerpts here from treksheets.com to give a little bit of history on every target point we cross in this 200-foot traverse. Voila, here you actually climb across this in between the pinnacle and the main mountain. There are a couple of chains here to help you cross this section. Here you can see how big the pinnacle is as you are nearby. You can see one of my co-runners here, Varun from Pune, was getting down, and from there again it's a steep traverse to the base of the caves, from where again you have some makeshift ropes and dry trees to help you climb up to the caves, which are cut somewhere midway in the mountain. Once you enter the caves are quite big. You see even some cooking utensils and so used by pilgrims. You get beautiful views again on the surrounding Sahyadri ridge as well as the Konkan plains. Voila, coming down, and again let me show you a small video to give you a little bit perspective on the experience.
Mithun is climbing down the dark Buddhist caves on our way from Lonavla to Bhimashankar. Steep ascent with rock cut steps and steel cable. Quite adventurous. There's a big pinnacle also over there through which we came. And stunning views on the surrounding mountains. We have Rajmachi over there. Some villages down there.
Voila. So beyond Dhak Bahiri, we basically come back along the small saddle and we climb up to a certain mountain range where you'll find some very deserted settlements to get back in a little bit of developed area here, mainly because there is road access, a huge Andhra lake, where you will also have a bus and a couple of villages before again you disappear in no man's land. You also have a famous place called Sai Dongar, hiking spots where you can climb out of the Konkan plains to the Deccan plateau and back to nearby ridges. Here you can see those primitive settlements on top of the plateau after climbing up from Dhak Bahiri. Very, very friendly people, innocent, not polluted by money and the economy yet, always serving some fresh tea and some food for passing guests. Once we cross the Andhra lake, then again we come into beautiful farmlands of the villages around the lake, and we run up to a small saddle. Here, very interesting. You can see like crabs all over the place at the end of the monsoon because of the wetness. Like in some parts of the Sahyadris, I saw like hundreds of crabs running around and hiding in small holes along the trails. You come across beautiful waterfalls dripping down there from the intermediate ridges of the Sahyadris that separate these interior valleys. Here we go for a small trail run below the waterfall. End of October.
Running towards Bhimashankar on the way to Kotaligat now. It's raining, so rocks are a bit slippery. Valleys are filled with mist. Whole Sahyadris is lush green after the monsoon. Nice rain, not too heavy. Everywhere we have beautiful waterfalls coming down from the top of the cliffs. Really beautiful, the whole place. Hope to reach Bhimashankar in 2-3 hours from Salvele. Amazing place. See you guys later.
Voila. So as we then run further, we climb up through a small saddle here, from where we again get into the next kind of neighboring valley, where we'll find several villages along the way. So on the next section, basically we proceed here over this same saddle which we saw in the photo, and then keep running on top of the ridge here. We pass Kotaligat, which I didn't cover, then also Pabargat nearby Bhimashankar, and there's actually one more on the right side, Borgiri, I believe, which I haven't marked, to eventually reach Bhimashankar in dense forest. Here you can see some of these very remote, beautiful settlements in those farmlands very close to the forests. So the Sahyadris are really amazing. You have many of these isolated places where roads have not reached and development, and you basically run back hundreds of years in time. Let's go for a small run in the villages.
Welcome to paradise. Running through the lush green post-monsoon farm field of the Sahyadris in a light drizzle, perfect climate. Crossing very small hamlets on the way. Namaskar. Meeting people who live still sustainable, independent of the virtual money economy. Beautiful place. Just came down from the cloud-indulged hills up there.
Voila. So then along some parts of the Deccan ridge, you'll also find renewable energy here, a whole series of wind turbines, which we'll also see later on as we run towards Mahabaleshwar in the third traverse. Voila, here again we're running above the clouds, actually straight into heaven along a small trail, completely away from any development. So very peaceful, very tranquil, and the Konkan plains steeply down on the left side are fully covered by clouds. Further away we see Kotaligat, which is connected through a small ridge with the main Deccan ridge. Right going there, but also like very slippery and a bit risky to approach from the top Sahyadri side. Voila, further again, you go into really remote places, nothing but little bit jungles, intermittent jungles with intermittent grass plains, a lot of water streams everywhere. So finding drinkable water is not at all a problem on your way. Here again, and you find the small water streams that flow down from the ridge actually and flow east towards the Deccan plateau, making them big valleys along the way. Beautiful, tranquil places actually. Just before we enter Bhimashankar, we have to go through a fairly big river. I mean, this is again after the monsoon. If you come later in the summer, there won't be any water here. Let's run through the water shortly. It's the second.
We're about 2 kilometers away from Bhimashankar. The trail has been beautiful so far. Coming across the river here. Whoa, seems to be quite deep. Whoa, oh. Oh, whoa, that's refreshing.
So as you can see, deep forest as you then approach the Bhimashankar wildlife sanctuary. Final stretch toward the temple is really beautiful. So a little background on Bhimashankar. It's a temple, is a Jyotirlinga shrine, which is quite old, 1,200 to 1,400 years, and built on the Hemat Panti style. Beautiful sculptures and paintings on the roof and pillars of the temple. Bhimashankar is also the source of the river Bhima, which you can see flowing here, which quickly deeply cuts into the landscape and flows southeast and merges with the Krishna River near Raichur. The other Jyotirlinga shrines in Maharashtra are Trimbakeshwar near Nasik and Grinshwar. Voila, here you can see a close-up on a section of the roof of the temple. Beautiful construction, quite unique. Voila, so then from Bhimashankar, we'll further keep running on the Deccan ridge to a fort called Siddharghat. From there, we have Yetoba, Agupe, a village, and then basically proceed to Durga and Dakoba forts before we eventually hit Jivdan fort near Naneghat. Voila, so the initial traverse, we basically go through a place called Kondawal. Kondawal is also a big waterfall here with a couple of remote settlements. Before we go into no man's land along this valley here, get into either a jungle and a small saddle through Ahupe, or in my case, I ran straight along the ridge here and descended in a small gully, contour to the left to climb the Siddharghat fort, which is slightly kind of connected through a saddle with the main Deccan ridge. As you proceed from the other side of Bhimashankar, you have some small villages there, a lot of cattle herders, farming settlements. Here you can see very peaceful, even though it's tar road, it's extremely peaceful to run through this, especially after the monsoon when it's all lush and green. Voila, eventually beyond the last villages, you come into no man's land again, so extremely peaceful, a little bit scary for people who are not used to being alone, but really an awesome place. Pretty flat, so kind of easy, not much of climbing and descending as long as you stay on the ridge. Voila, and then as I mentioned, right at a certain point, we have to get down a small gully, which also will lead to the Konkan plains. But midway the gully will take a left into the entry of Siddharghat fort.
We're climbing down from Bhimashankar towards the base of Siddharghat. Steep descent here where the trail gets into a gully. Yesterday it was raining the whole night, so quite a bit of water coming down. Steep gully. The weather is clearing up today. Climbing down halfway and then contouring to the left side to the base of the Siddharghat fort. After climbing up, we'll be descending through another gully to the base of the fort before climbing up again to the main gate section.
Voila. So here then you can see a little history on Siddharghat. So in the ancient times, the goods arriving at the Greek port of Kalyan were used to be transported to the high plateau regions of Junar, which was a prominent marketplace. One of the trade routes was the Kalyan Massa Agupe Geit Junar route at Massa. The route coming from Karjat area joins the route originating from Kalyan. To keep a close watch on these routes and trades at Agupe Geit, forts like Mashindraghat, Guraghat, Siddharghat were built. Siddharghat fort has now become a part of the Bhimashankar wildlife sanctuary. Voila, so here we climb further down the gully where I think initially there was a proper staircase, but through 400 centuries of monsoons, most of the staircase rocks have been tumbled apart. Here then we come to the main route, which comes from the plains to the entry of Siddharghat. You can still see some remains. There's also a small village there, Siddharghat, I believe, at midway between the Konkan plains and the top Deccan plateau. In many parts of the Sahyadri, you will find these midway sections where people are still living and farming. And then on top of the fort, I mean, fort is a big name, it's more like a hillock with a couple of remains, not much of fortification or buildings on top, just a couple of small ancient remains here. Let's go for a small run on top of Naneghat. Stunning views on the Deccan Ridge. The amazing views of the surrounding valleys. Beautiful place. Behind that we can see Bhimashankar, which we came from. Steep. Below you can see the lush green valleys. Amazing place. Next destination. I forgot the name of one more Pinnacle forts. It seems to be the old entrance here through which the troops came. Amazing place. The views are too good. Voila. So here from top of Naneghat you see stunning views on the Deccan plateau through which we came as we ran from Bhimashankar towards Naneghat. On top of the fort you still find the water tanks full of clear water after the monsoon, so let's take a small taste. Most of the forts built by Shivaji have big water reservoirs on top, so the troops could be independent even if surrounded at the base. Water at this month of the year is still clear, fresh. Fresh rainwater, was some heavy rain yesterday evening. So nice also to camp on top, see the sunset, sunrise, and at the same time have water to drink and cook. And get some stunning views from the top here. See small villages down there, as well as some dams. Okay, so then getting down again from Naneghat, we follow through a small trail. Initially a trail and then becomes like small rock cut steps as we descend to the intermediate village of Naneghat. Got nice rock steps cut out, making it easier to climb up. You'll have to be careful for wet rocks. There's a small village down there, midway the base and the top of the fort. And on the right side you can see Geit, our second destination. And on the right the Bhimashankar plateau, from which we climbed down this morning. Voila, and then finally, once we climb down further through the gully, we come into the Konkan plains where you have these beautiful streams running, and these are basically used for irrigation of the farmlands, the fertile farmlands at the base of the Sahyadri. You can still find some beautiful anciently cut rocks here and there, both at the Deccan Ridge as well as here in the Konkan plains. Voila, this was the first webinar on the Sahyadris. In the second one, we'll continue with part 2 as we move further to Naneghat and traverse eventually all beautiful 200 unique forts all across the Sahyadris. See you guys back tomorrow. Any questions, feel free to post as comments in YouTube on my blog, ultrajourneys.org.